The comedy superstar thinks terrestrial channels fear causing controversies or complaints and so make telly that's just too safe. Ricky, 57, also let rip at his former bosses at the BBC for censoring good jokes. In an exclusive chat with the Daily Star, he says, "I haven't watched terrestrial TV for 2 years. Mainstream channels are too safe. For many reasons. People are too scared to offend now. The BBC don't want certain papers on their back, shareholders don't want the hassle and they don't want letters of complaint. Some people are just a little bit scared because they don't want the admin." Ricky has been one of British TV's biggest names for more than 15 years after making his name as David Brent in classic BBC comedy The Office. But he reveals he secretly had to battle nervy exes over his love for near-the-knuckle humor. He says, "In the past, I've talked about using a clip on the BBC show and told them why it's okay and why they won't get a complaint, but they think it's easier not to put it out than take the stick. And that is just unjustified. It's not about whether you get a complaint, it's about whether you get a complaint upheld. I have never had a complaint upheld because I know what I'm doing. People say things shouldn't be on telly, I just think, why not? They have got to come up with a reason why I shouldn't do it, and that's the hard thing because the reason is they don't like it. That's it. Over the years I've had to compromise to make stuff I like. I did stuff on BBC 2 instead of BBC 1. And on Channel 4 instead of ITV, and then on HBO instead of NBC. Ricky, whose other shows include Extras and Derek, decided to work with streaming service Netflix for his new series Afterlife. It meant he was able to push the boundaries and make the jokes he couldn't have done elsewhere. He says, "There's no doubt I can go further when I'm working with Netflix. They had zero interference. Netflix has 140 million subscribers and they've got deep pockets, so the sky's the limit. I don't think this show could have been on anywhere except Netflix or maybe HBO." In Afterlife, Ricky plays a man who is so grief-stricken over the death of his wife he decides to stop worrying about what people think of him. The show covers topics including heroin use, suicide and prostitution. The jokes are so outrageous even the show's trailer has had complaints. Ricky says, "This plot doesn't give you carte blanche to go crazy. I wasn't trying to break the record for the most offensive language and most sensitive subjects ever. Everything is justified and I deal with everything sensitively. I think about stuff. It's not like I just burst it out. I think people thought when I did the Golden Globes I went out thinking, what's the worst thing I can say to everyone? But every joke is honed and made bulletproof, so a week later, I can justify it and say, I think you've mistaken the subject for the target." Ricky is famed for upsetting snowflakes with his jokes because he isn't afraid to make quips about controversial topics. But he reckons they are missing the point. He says, "Everyone assumes that comedy is disrespectful. I've heard radio shows discussing why I shouldn't be making jokes about certain subjects. But I think, well, you're talking about it, I'm just doing it in a funny way. Offense is usually taken when people mistake the subject of a joke for the actual target. And they're not necessarily the same thing. You can joke about anything. It depends on the actual joke. Some people just get in the way. But you can't worry about it because there's nothing you can say that someone won't misinterpret and find offensive. You can say, 'Why did the chicken cross the road?' And someone will say, 'Hey, my chicken died yesterday.' In my stand-up show Humanity, I did a routine about nut allergies and I got a complaint from someone who said, 'This isn't funny.' You should never joke about food allergies. I sent back, I make jokes about AIDS, famine, cancer and the Holocaust, and you're telling me I shouldn't make jokes about food allergies? And she sent back, yeah, but the Holocaust didn't children. People always think what they're dealing with is worse than what everyone else is dealing with. All episodes of Afterlife will be available on Netflix from this Friday.